Hey, just to let everybody know, I didn't get new videos made up yet because the Don Tony show was always done on a Friday night for a while. So forgive me for the incorrect day for the intro for tonight.
Friday night. That means it's time for the Don Tony Show.
You've waited all week, and now it's finally here. Get Don Tony's perspective on current affairs in the world of pro wrestling and beyond.
And now, your host, the man, the legend, Don Tony.
Why, good evening, everybody. If I have to look at my clock in the lower right-hand corner of the computer today to check the date, something's wrong. 20 years. 20 years. I tell you, when I was a kid, maybe even a teenager, really hardcore Met fan in the mid-'80s, once we started hearing about Strawberry, and then Gooden, Strawberry came up in '83, then Gooden came up, then they signed Keith Hernandez, signed Gary Carter. Opening day, 1985, Gary Carter, I think, hits 2 home runs in the last one against Neil Allen in extra innings, who I think Keith Hernandez was traded for, correct? Anyway, bottom line is, I remember '86, they were doing an old-timers game showing the '69 Mets. And for me, it was ancient history. When we got to 1989 and they did the 20th anniversary of the Mets winning the World Series in '69, it still looked like ancient history. It's like a different era, a different time. The way people dressed, the music, the prices, the culture, just everything about it. 69 to 89 looked like a totally different world. And yes, technology is advanced. But I tell you, man, today being the 20th anniversary of 9/11, 2001, in a lot of ways, sure, security, being observant, you know, you see something, say something, that has changed. No question. Security, it's changed. But I tell you, I look back at the last 20 years, and there's a lot of ways that it's not changed much at all. Now, tonight, a majority of the show will talk about 9/11, more in a wrestling perspective than anything else. Share a couple of personal stories with yours truly, because I don't talk about it enough. You probably figured it out with my accent that I am a lifelong New Yorker. So having the towers go down very close to home. In fact, I'm going to share with you 2 news articles involving my family and me that I never showed publicly before. So when I see these people telling me, oh, DT, you know, you should get verified on Twitter. You look back at all the things that I have tried to do in my lifetime and I have to prove myself on Twitter. Verified, fuck you. Other people really need it for business. So I don't knock anybody that uses it and uses it for the right way and not to be a prima donna. But man, 20 years already. It's amazing. It's amazing. Talk about a couple of things wrestling-wise. I strongly suggest, if you have not watched the little documentary that WWE put out yesterday about 20th anniversary of 9/11. It doesn't reveal a whole lot. Gives you a little perspective behind the scenes of what it was like to be working for WWF at the time. September 10th, the day before, they were doing Raw. If I remember correctly, Smackdown used to be taped on Tuesdays, which was 9/11, and they ended up doing it live. It's a great little clip. It's about 40 minutes long, if I could remember. Worth watching. It'll give you the true feel of what it was like at that time. And I'm going to say something. And by the way, I have coffee. Yours truly made a horrible mistake yesterday. Yesterday I had a bad headache. And I had it Thursday night. Kind of went away during the show, but it kind of lingered all throughout Friday. So last night, since I was not doing a show, I was relaxing. I watched most of SmackDown Live, watched some of Rampage, watched the rest of it today. But I dozed off a couple of times. Hey, I catch up on my sleep. Why not? And I fell asleep early and got up like around 11:30. And I said, I'm so tired. I've been taking Ambien for about 10 years now. Ambien helps you sleep. And, I always heard the horror stories. If you take it for too long, bad things can happen. I think Jim Ross, didn't he have a stroke or a mini stroke off of Ambien? I know he had some type of a health episode. So once in a while, I try not to take it. So I've been taking it straight for about 3 months. So I said last night, I'm so tired, I'm so relaxed, I'm not going to take an Ambien. Instead, I took 2 Advil PMs, the worst thing I ever did. The whole night, could not sleep for crap. Finally, like around 4:30 this morning, I fell asleep for a little bit, but I woke up, my body, you could tell my body was like, what the hell did you do to me yesterday? Where's my Ambien? So now I'm having coffee to try to stay a little awake. Got my water. So, look, let's be honest. Talking about 9/11 20 years ago, even in the world of wrestling, is not the most sexiest topic to do over here. It kind of broke my heart yesterday. Yesterday, Daphne was laid to rest. Now, there was some specifics that I said last week I was not making public unless the family made it public. Yes, she was cremated. We pretty much led to that last week. The funeral was going to be delayed because, removing a brain and sending it for science isn't, I don't want to get too gory, but it's not like just walking into a store, and give me a pork roast. Crack the bone. No, it's very, very delicate, even if the person passed on. And they sent her brain to be examined for CTE. When we did that tribute for her on Thursday, September 2nd, I focused on depression and CTE. And you might remember when I was talking about it, the headaches she would get, like a bell ringing in your ear. It's not even like tinnitus. It's something that drives you mad. Please, no more. That and the loneliness. And I know a lot of you, my goal that day was to pay tribute to her and to remember the happier times, but also to address what's going on. And this ties into 9/11 in a way. I have nothing prepared tonight. So whatever comes out, it's just coming right from here and here. But, one thing that I emphasize more than anything that I think a lot of people have totally lost focus on, because I think it was Daphne's father that said it in the funeral service. Everybody is with their phones now. And I don't remember who said it yesterday. It might have been a father, but, you can't simply, just text and send an email or a post or this or a Zoom call. If you are in the vicinity, or even if you're not, you have to understand nothing replaces this. Nothing replaces this. Francine said it so eloquently the other day. Sound familiar? Sometimes all you need is a hug. Yesterday was the funeral service. By the way, I'll post a screenshot on Monday. I don't have it here, but you could go on my Twitter at Don Tony D. The link is up there. I took a little less than half of the donations, and in lieu of flowers, even though I was going to send flowers anyway, they have this service where they'll plant a tree in the memory of a person. So the funeral home was offering that, and I did some research, and they really do plant trees. It's not made up. So I had 10 trees planted from all of us in her name. So the rest of the donations will go to the Institute for Brain Research. That I don't have the exact name in front of me. I'm going to do that probably tomorrow. I post the receipts and everything to be completely transparent. But, what broke my heart yesterday a little bit was this. I went on social media, and of course, it's not a happy thing in a way for a funeral service, but the whole funeral service, the whole idea of it was to celebrate her life, tell stories, cry a little, laugh a little. And, there were some recognizable names that were there, some that were very close to Daphne. But, I posted it online about a half hour before it started. Hey, everybody, funeral service is going on. And I sent it to a bunch of people privately. Hey, could you repost this? Not going to name names. Do you know? I think only one person reposted it. She had, at a peak yesterday, she had, I think, 95 people tuning into that service. Francine said it last week. When she did Zooms, when she would do Zooms, Daphne, she'd get 20 viewers, 30 viewers. She felt like nobody cared about her anymore. The night that she wanted to take her life, she had 1,300 viewers. Yesterday, people could pay final respect, cost nothing. Just tune in. Just tune in. Even if you tune in, click on it and walk away. Just to show droves of people tune in to say goodbye. The peak yesterday was 90. 90. So we get to 9/11. We get to 9/11. This is just my opinion. I can't tell you how many people today were writing, can we be better to each other? Can we today just show that we care? Have a little respect? Be nice? Why is it when there's a celebration of a tragedy, a death, a suicide, some horrible event, that people feel the need that they have to ask people to do that? When I started this YouTube channel a year and a half ago, I wanted every day to be like 9/11. In the sense that we all look out for each other. We all care for each other. Be a little respectful for each other. We could disagree on a hell of a lot of topics. We could wholeheartedly disagree on stuff. But treat people like you want to be treated. And I'm reading all this stuff today, and I'm like, man, why do you need 9/11? When you have to tell people, look, can you be nice today? What fucking world are we living in? Seriously. What world are we living in? And here's my point. What we're going to talk about today with 9/11, it's not a sexy topic anymore. If we talked about the towers going down and getting into the terrorists and the tragedies and the disgusting stuff and all the hate and the bias and the terrible things that probably have 5 times the number of viewers. I joked about it the other day, and I looked today just to see what everybody was talking about, just to see what the climate is leading into the weekend, leading into this. And the special of the day, you go into a restaurant and they'll say, today's special is, blah, 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 blah. I could say about 75% of all the shows out there, their draw to tune in was Mick Foley criticizing WWE. Somebody called in, or no, super chatted the other day. DT, what do you think about the Mick Foley stuff? What'd I say? He has a right to his opinion. Period. He has a right to his opinion. When he praises WWE, nobody gives a shit. Nobody says a word about it. When he criticizes WWE, it's front page headlines. That's the climate we're in right now. Being straight, being honest, showing that you care a little bit is not popular. It's fine with me. It's fine with me. Because all those toxic people, they're outside. They're outside elsewhere being toxic. Today, I happened to be home and Vince Russo did a little live broadcast. And I know a lot of you out there don't like Vince Russo. I have never wavered my support for the guy. I disagree with a lot of his stuff over the years, but never wavered from the support. And someone had said to me yesterday, because after Thursday's show, when I told everyone that nobody out there in Showland that, other than reading a wiki bio of Daphne, nobody out there thought that the tribute that you and I all did on last Thursday was worthy enough to tell people, hey, you might want to check out this. If you want to see a little bit different side, a more personal side, tune in. Nobody. That's the climate. So after I did that show Thursday, on Friday, I get a DM saying, DT, check out Vince Russo's tribute to Daphne. I watched it yesterday, and I got choked up. Because even though he won't, say it outright, even though he won't admit it, especially that spot with Abyss and Daphne from TNA, I guarantee you everybody who was involved in that spot, even though nobody forced Daphne to do anything that night, there's a little bit of guilt. That guy truly, truly cared. And they thought he did such a beautiful tribute. And I thanked him today for that. But I also looked at a lot of the comments floating around about his tribute to Daphne. I'd say about 40% of it is all horrible shit. And this is the day before 9/11, and I'm like, my God, if you thought 9/11, the culture was bad, 20 years later, does it feel like the world is closer together? I've talked some of what I say tonight, some of you already know this, and we'll focus mostly on the wrestling side. We'll reflect to 9/11/01, what I remember, because I was doing a wrestling hotline at that time, how I handled it. We'll talk about the great, the good, the bad, and the weird. The awkward. Maybe awkward would be better. Yes, I know all of you out there immediately go to Stephanie McMahon, comparing 9/11 to the family steroid trial. I've given my opinion on that over the years, and I'll repeat it tonight again. But there was another 9/11 comparison from back in the day. And man, I Googled it today. I spent 20 minutes looking around. I could not find it. I'm like, wow, they went out of their way to bury this. So I had to go back into my archives of my website, and I found it. Maybe we'll even do a contest later. Since you're so kind to hang out tonight for a little bit, we'll do a contest later. And it'll have to do with something I just said with 9/11. But some of what I say today, some of you already know. I had a friend at that time. His name was Asif. Now, There used to be, and if you do a history of Middle Village, Queens, New York, you'll probably find loads of people talking about this deli back in the day. But this guy, Asif, was a little bit older than us. And he owned Otto's Deli, Woodhaven Boulevard. In fact, when Howard Stern did his movie, there is a scene where his car is riding down Woodhaven Boulevard. I never really looked, but if the cameras reflect across the street, you'll see Otto's Deli and you'll see me and my friends standing outside at Otto's Deli. And we didn't even know that it was going on at the time. It was around like 1988. I don't remember the exact year of the movie. It was around that time. Maybe even a little bit later than that. Maybe the early 90s. But we were friends with Asif. Now, when we were teenagers and not legally old enough to drink, everybody would go to Otto's Deli. As long as you had fake ID, you could get your wine coolers, you could get your Zima, you could get your Bud Nips, you could drink. In the back, he had 2 Joker poker machines, and we used to hang out. I'm begging my friend Joey Bonanno. He's got a videotape of me and my friends from 1990. And in it, we're hanging out in Otto's Deli and everything like that. He lives now a little ways away from me. And every time I talk to him, every couple of years, give me the tape. I've been wanting to see it for 30 years. Give me the tape. Oh, I got it stored away somewhere. So anyway, Asif was Pakistani. And we've lost touch. I haven't talked to him probably in about 15 years. But he was Pakistani. Hopefully he's still with us. And he owned Otto's Deli. And when 9/11 hit, we played cards that weekend. I don't know if it was September 15th, somewhere around there. And it was me and a bunch of my other friends, and it was Asif. And you could tell just something was off with him. This was a couple of days after 9/11, and we're sitting in my house. We're playing Ramino. And, he's very, very quiet, just a little bit like uneasy. And I think it was my friend Billy had said to him, it's like, Asif, you okay? He's like, man, I'm scared. I said, scared of what? He says, you don't understand. He says, I'm going to have people showing up in my deli blaming me for 9/11. He looked exactly like one of the terrorists. I got to find a picture of Asif, and if you look at it, it's creepy. But he was one of the most genuine, nice people. He was an American. Had nothing to do with 9/11. But you had to see how scared people were that looked like a terrorist. It was something that we were so worried about. And a lot of us went out of our way to, make sure that, no, we're not going to take shit, which was the terrorists, and then start racially profiling people simply because they're from same country, a different country. And for the most part, I think we did a great job. I really do. At that time, there was a little bit of controversy. I remember they wanted to build a mosque not too far away from the towers. And I remember there was so much controversy at the time because some of the people that were involved with the mosque, they thought had ties, and you had people protesting and this and that. I don't know if the mosque was ever built, but, at that time, majority of Americans, and abroad too, but a majority of Americans, I can really speak mainly for America and New York, but we went out of our way to really try to be closer, show a little more respect, be proud to be an American. Remember what I said the last couple of weeks? The difference in wrestling now compared to the Monday Night Wars. Back in the late 90s, even early 2000s, before WCW and ECW went out of business, You hung out with friends. This one loved WWF. This one loved Nitro. One loved ECW. This one didn't like any of them but loved the indies. The one thing that was different about then to now was we all were proud to be wrestling fans. We bragged. We had fun. We hung out. We had some friendly arguments. Thank you, Chaos. Says, thank you for providing him with endless hours of excellent conversations and content. Prayers for all of us, especially those affected by 9/11. I just try to be a regular person, Yeah, I go over the top a lot of ways. But I think that serious convo is needed. And not only after somebody kills themselves, or there's a tragedy, or there's an earthquake, a tornado, a suicide. Everybody wants to talk serious at that time. And then a day or two later, it's right back to being an asshole. So I try to mix in some serious convo because I think it's needed. So being a wrestling fan in the late 90s, even right before 9/11, because look, WCW went out of business March 2001. ECW went out of business a short time before that, in 01. 9/11 happened 6 months later. So 01, we opened up 2001 with 3 promotions going at it. And then 9.5 months later, we got one. TNA's not around yet. And WWF was the only game in town other than the Indies. You had XWF, Jimmy Hart's group, or D Pistons. Much love, my friend. Thank you. Shout out to you. Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. Caught me taking a slug of coffee. But even before WCW and ECW went out of business, we bragged that we were wrestling fans. Every time a TV guide came out, wrestling was on the cover. When you had regular magazines and wrestling was on the cover, you see Goldberg showing up on Jay Leno and Hogan and Bischoff taking over Leno, and you have Raven showing up on MTV and Diamond Dallas Page hitting him with a stop sign and all this other stuff. We bragged about being wrestling fans. Dayhawk, Muhammad Hassan, thank you for the super chat, Dayhawk. Muhammad Hassan debuted after 9/11. Muhammad Hassan, the storyline was playing into the stereotype that he was being judged simply because of how he looked and how he sounded. Even though Muhammad Hassan is Italian, like yours truly. His character was based on the climate at that time. But you got to understand something. I want to make this clear. Just like Crime Time. I put Muhammad Hassan and Crime Time in the same category. There's always a stereotype. There's always a stereotype. And it's not necessarily racist to me unless there's maliciousness involved, malicious intent. If you feel that one race is less than another, one gender, religion, whatever it is, that's where, to me, it goes wrong. Muhammad Hassan and Crime Time, the stereotype was you come from Crooklyn and, you're stealing things, you're doing this, you're doing that. And they tried to be lighthearted about, yo, it's Crime Time. Muhammad Hassan was that stereotype that a very small number of people, had that view. So they blew it up and turned it into a big storyline. Isn't it weird 20 years later, so many people feel the Muhammad Hassan character was one of the coolest fucking characters around? And if you think about why the character was created, and it ended up being one of the coolest characters in a lot of people's eyes. I mean, honestly, over the last 20 years, if somebody said to you, choose one person that retired way too early, maybe Bret Hart, because what happened with Goldberg, but I think Muhammad Hassan is in everybody's top 5. Everybody's top. Thank you, Chris Segovia, for the kind words. I try to spit facts. And again, when you don't do notes, this is for me. It doesn't work for everybody. But when you don't use notes and you just go from here and here, and you're being honest, should not be hard to just speak your mind. By the way, before I go any further, for the people who did bring it up, yes, I did see Zelina Vega this morning. Every year since a year after 9/11, when they read all the names who died at the World Trade Center, Zelina Vega's father died at World Trade Center. She was 10 years old at the time. I don't know exactly what part of Queens she lived. I think it might have been Jackson Heights. But her father worked at the Trade Center and he died. And she had the privilege today to be one of, reading some of the names, and she read her father. And, man, losing your dad at 10 years old, God bless her. God bless her. So getting back to my point before about wrestling fans. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, whether you liked WCW or you liked WWF or you liked ECW, or if you didn't like any of them, but you liked other promotions, indies, whatever, we all bragged that we were wrestling fans. If somebody was appearing on a TV show, everybody would be like, yo, did you hear? Raven and Diamond Dallas Page were on MTV. Holy shit, do you see what they did? Then they did something, I can't remember what it was. They did an event. It wasn't on the Intrepid, but I think it had to do with MTV also, and it rained and it was horrible. They tried to have like hip hop artists walk the wrestlers represented a hip hop artist, and they tried to do, oh my God. Thank you, Chaos. I connect with my audience. I'll never forget any of you. Seriously. It's when you talk to people and not at people, that's how you connect. Period. That's what I've done since 1997. I was not very good at it. Some of you had a little teaser on Thursday. I played a little clip of a wrestling hotline I did 20 years ago. I sounded like the ultimate goof. The ultimate goof. And I change over the years. But one thing I always wanted was when I do my hotlines or did the shows, I always wanted to talk to you, not talk at you. And for those that still don't understand the difference is that I may not see everybody's comment being posted during the show, but the overall climate, the feedback, the super chats, the regular chats, the emails, the DMs, see what everybody wants to talk about. And I bounce off of everybody. Other people out there, they'll pick a couple of topics and they'll say what they want to say, whether you tune in or not. And whether 1 million people tune in or 10, they would still have said the very same thing. The only time that they talk to people instead of at people is usually when you criticize them. That's when, like, you stupid asshole. What are you, fucking stupid? What do you do? Yeah, that's when they talk to you, when you criticize. But when you praise, no time for praise. Sean KB, thank you for doing the show, especially on 9/11. Hope we're well. Are we talking about MTV Spring Break? Yes, I think that's what it was. I think it was MTV Spring Break. They tried it, and it failed because of the rain. In fact, I think you even had a couple of matches in the rain. But the point is, back then, we were all happy to be wrestling fans, proud. If you were going to school at that time, everybody, it was cool to be a wrestling fan, even if you followed a different promotion than your friends. AS7607, thank you for the super chat. Her mom was scheduled to attend an ACS meeting on William Street, not far from the Trade Center, and she was in Park Slope at the time. Yeah, I mean, Manhattan is the epicenter. Oladeji, Oriola, welcome to the family. Manhattan is the epicenter of New York, period. I mean, you don't have to work at World Trade Center or Main Street or 42nd Street, you know, wherever, Times Square, you know, but it is the epicenter. You got millions of people traveling through. And how do you hurt America? You go right for the jugular, which is Manhattan. And that's what they did. Some of you may remember my hotline at the time. A girl I had dated, Julia Gonzalez. She worked at World Trade Center Association. And funny, like about 6 months ago, I was going through old papers and I found like my old phone book and the number was in there. But she worked for the World Trade Center Association. And she answered phones and everything like that. And I had not talked to her. This is the one with the triplets, by the way, if anybody knows the stories back then. I had not talked to her in several years. And when that happened, you know, like, I thought she died in the World Trade Center. And I tried getting in touch with people that I knew, you know, called numbers, went right to voicemail, could not find a home number at the time. And it ended up that she had been on vacation that week. So she was not in the towers. But, you know, if she didn't have vacation that week, she would have died in the Trade Center. It's crazy shit, man. In fact, I'm going to show you all two news articles in a minute. I think you'll get a kick out of. I've never showed you before. But just to finish my point before, back then, even if your best friend was a WCW fan and you were a WWF fan, oh, Nitro was awesome, Raw sucks. No, Raw was awesome, Nitro sucks. At the end of the day, we bragged that we were wrestling fans. When we had the ratings, 7, 8, 9 in the ratings, you had 10 plus million people tuning in. And everybody that did not like wrestling, why is this fake shit? This fake wrestling? What's so great about this fake wrestling? And yes, it was Jerry Springer, Beavis and Butthead, South Park, Maury. You know, it was MMA, which was very, very new at the time. It was Girls Gone Wild. That was the climate at that time. So at the end of the day, we loved being wrestling fans. Nowadays, you want to be the most beloved person in the world? Spit on WWE and put over AEW. Everybody wants to flock to verbally fuck you. You like one over the other? No, you know, AEW, it's just, you know, it's just, I don't know. It's like, I like the, what are you, fucking stupid? What are you, retarded? What is wrong with you? What the fuck? You don't see it's dying? Yesterday's Smackdown. Smackdown's been around for 20 years. Yesterday's Smackdown was the highest grossing Smackdown in Madison Square Garden or any Smackdown in its 20-year history. They made the most money last night of any Smackdown ever. People want to see it die. People want to see trouble. People want to hate Vince and Bruce Pritchard and blame WWE for Triple H's stress and all this other stuff. Instead of just, man, fucking AEW is awesome. You know, I may not like WWE as much as I like AEW, but man, it's fucking awesome to be a wrestling fan. No, that's rated G shit. You walk around, man, it's so cool to be a wrestling fan. Man, it's awesome right now. No, you gotta be. Yo, this fucking AEW, it's history. Fucking Vince McMahon's outdated. Fuck him, that piece of shit. Where the fucking women wrestling? Where the fuck this? This Raw sucks. This SmackDown sucks. Wrestling sucks. You don't like AEW? What's wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong? We didn't have that in 2001, 2000, 1999, 876-54321. NWA. We didn't have any of that. We bragged to be wrestling fans. When I say that wrestling is toxic right now, It's everywhere. It's not just wrestling. It's politics. It's walking down the street. It's just simply because your skin color. You walk into a place and you're unhappy with the service and you just happen to have some white skin. Guess what? Pretend this is a cell phone. Everybody with their phones looking to record. 2001 compared to now, it was fucked up to see people stereotyping anybody from India, from that area of the world, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, anybody wearing a turban, any women clothed and only showing their eyes. Everybody would be like, then you realize that it's not everybody going like this. It's the whack jobs out there. And guess what? America, for the most part, yelled loud. No, man, we ain't going to fucking tolerate those assholes. You want to feel uncomfortable simply because you're around someone who's Indian? Fuck you. USA. USA. And it truly brought everybody together. Now everybody thinks because they write a tweet that gets 50 likes in return, yes, I did my part. Yes, I did my part. Until the next AEW event and everybody sings Judas and they go, whack jobs. Otis, this and that. Make it. You don't need a 9/11. You don't need a tragedy. You don't need a suicide. You don't need a natural disaster for everybody to say, oh, can we just be nice to each other? Can we be nice today? No, man. Every fucking day you should be doing that. And I'm not trying to preach the world. I ain't changing the world. But this is why I love doing this stuff for all of you, because the people that are tuning in right now, whether it's live or after the fact, you know, you get it. You get it. And I told Vince Russo earlier today, I said, Vince, I said, being real, being honest, and being just stand up about how you feel about things is not popular in 2021. Sooner or later, it will be. Sooner or later, people will get fed up at the bullshit that is going around. Greg Ingham, welcome, my friend. Welcome. Welcome to the family. So, hey, I got 135 people on YouTube right now. I got 217 on Twitter, 144 on Facebook, and Twitch 6. I can't get Twitch. If I did it one episode, Twitch only, I'm curious if people would tune into it. But when you look back at 2001 to now, to me, the world has gotten so much worse. You, me, and many others out there, you know, I feel, have gotten much better. We've learned and we've become better people. But we're in the minority. And I hate using that word because, you know, of what people go through. But, you know, you got to stick by your guns, man. You may have good news and nobody wants to go anywhere near it. It's like they hate you for having good things happen to you. I proved that time and time again. Sooner or later, it will become popular again. It will become popular again. Right now, misery loves company, and that is the majority. So, anyway, let's flash back to 9/11/01. Like I said, I'm going to focus more on the wrestling side. I'll add in a couple of personal things too. I will tell you, you know, I live in Queens, New York, not that far from the towers. And, you know, when I woke up that morning, Raw was on the night before. I had done my hotline report. In fact, I have a bunch of hotline reports that I found. The earliest one I could find is around early 2002. So I'm looking still to try to find the ones that were in 2001. I'm sure I'm going to come up with some. But for me, I Raw was on the air the night before, and I had work. And at that time, every day I tuned into Fox News. Remember, this is 2001. The world, the climate was much different. I didn't hate CNN at the time, but I watched Fox News every morning. And I would always wake up every morning around 8 a.m., turn on Fox News, watch TV for a half hour, take a shower, drink some coffee, go to my office. So that morning I was a little extra tired because Raw was on the night before, and I had done my hotline report. And this is way before my dog even getting sick. My dog at the time was only, 2 years old? My dog was young, so there was no health issues with my dog either. I also smoked at the time. I smoked. So I got up that morning. I was a little more tired because of Raw the night before. But just like any other day, I turned the TV on. And, I'm watching. I'm like closing my eyes here and there. And then you hear that a plane had just hit one of the towers. Now, my first reaction was, which building? Because my ex-girlfriend worked there. And, that was my first concern. Then I'm looking at the TV screen, and I'm looking at the outside, and it's a beautiful, beautiful, clear, sunny day. And you just I'm not a city guy, never was. I worked for Smith Barney in 1987 for about 6 months, and that was the only job I ever had in the city. I quit, and I never worked in the city ever again. But plane hits the tower, and first thing I'm thinking is, beautiful sunny day. I call my mom up. Ma, you watching the news? And she's like, yeah. She's like, can you believe that? And I'm like, yeah. And, we both were like, how does a plane buck up that bad and hit the tower on a beautiful sunny day? Then almost immediately after, the second plane hits. And yes, Daniel, everybody here is a family. Even to my lurkers out there that don't hang out in the chat room, which is perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. So the second plane hits, and now I'm just glued on the screen. And I remember vividly one of the commentators or the news hosts brought up Osama bin Laden. And I was like, whoa, because, see, 1993, there was a terrorist attack in New York City. I remember at the time in 1993, I had worked for a construction company for a very short period of time. And I remember being in the office when the bomb went off in 93. And, you start hearing names that you heard in passing, but you never really thought of before. And somebody said, Osama bin Laden. And now you're starting to think, terrorist attacks. Then you hear about the Pentagon. Then you hear about, was it Flight 93? And if I get anything wrong, please forgive me. I have no notes in front of me. Zero. But that plane that was forced down in Pennsylvania. And we're just watching it, and I'm just glued to my TV and just blown away by it. And I didn't know what to do. I tried calling my mom back, and the phone lines were down. The cell lines were down. I kept getting fast, busy signals. I think I have a regular Verizon phone at the time. And I'm just glued at the screen, and then you watch the first tower go down. And you just see people just running for their lives and everything. And second tower goes down. Now we're around after 11 a.m. And I'm supposed to be in my office. So, I'm thinking to myself, what do I do? So I got in my car. And that's one thing about today. that I always remember from that day. When I left my house to go to my office, I remember it being a brisk, beautiful, sunny day. I remember it being brisk. And I pulled up at my office and there was about 4 or 5 customers standing outside and everybody was walking around like zombies. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what was going on. Everybody was outside talking to each other. And I didn't open the office that day. I told everybody, like, look, anybody that needed payments done, they left the money. And I said, I'll do it later on. You got to remember, the internet at that time, we don't have the gigabyte connections like we did in 2001. For some of you very young fans out there that never experienced 56K modem and some of the shit that, especially when we were watching wrestling in the late 90s with Real Player, oh my God, you try connected to the net, it would take like 2-3 minutes sometimes, especially when they had to call a phone number. So I went back home and I'm just watching TV. So now my wrestling hotline, I'm like, what am I doing today? So I went on my wrestling hotline and I had told everyone, I said, look, everybody, I said, obviously there's not going to be a report today. I said, we still don't know what's going on. I said, but we're under attack. I said, and I pray for everybody out there. And if there's anything that anybody needs, what else can you do? So now I call the other wrestling hotlines. Give me a second. It's a little hot in here. Plus, I'm drinking hot coffee with an insulated thermos, so it's like still 200 degrees. So I call the other hotlines, and my immediate thought was I'm going to leave messages for a few other hotlines like, yo, man, you see what's going on? Holy shit, this and that. Because I had other friends that hotlines that lived in New York. I had some wackos as well. But I will never forget. And honestly, as much as I dislike Todd Gordon for him trying to sue me after I bought the trademark for ECW, I still will defend him to this day that I have a feeling he did not know about what happened. But I call this one hotline Vinny G. Vinny G. That's the guy that looked like Michael Jackson. And he did an interview with Todd Gordon. And they're talking about ECW going out of business. And this is the morning of 9/11. And I left him a message. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I said, we're being attacked. And you're like, what was it like being in ECW? That's one of the things I always remember from that day. And, so he did an interview with Todd Gordon. And if anybody's going to say to me, well, maybe it was pre-taped. No, man, we had telephones at the time. You called a phone number, which was our wrestling hotlines. For anybody that's too young to remember wrestling hotlines, I ended up having the number one wrestling hotline. I started in 97. By 90, late at 98 is where it really picked up momentum. By 99, it was the number one around. But our wrestling hotlines, there was no special company to call. What you would do is you would call a voicemail service. And you would pay whatever amount it was per month. And you would say, like for me, I would have 4 mailboxes. Option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4. Like compared to today, you call an office and it'll say, press 1 to leave a message for John. Press 2 to leave a message for Joe. Press 3 to leave a message for Amy. Press 4 to leave a message to the general mailbox. That's what you would do. And then you would press, let's say 1, and you'd hear like, hey, this is John. I'm out of the office. Leah. That's what we had. The only thing is that the greeting that we would be able to leave, the greeting would go for 10 minutes. So you could leave up to a 10-minute greeting. So my option 1, instead of it being like, hey, this is Anthony. I can't come to the phone right now. Leave a message after the beep. Instead, my greeting would be, hey, what's up, wrestling fans? It's Monday night, September 10th, 2001. You're listening to whatever I called my hotline at the time. I don't know if it was the G-Spot. Yeah, I used to have a hotline, and I didn't know what to call it. For the longest, it was just Anthony the Funker. I was a Funker because I was a huge Terry Funk fan. Then I think I had the G Spot. I called it the G Spot. Then we had the Blackheart Sports Entertainment Hotline. And then we kind of like combined it in the Minority Report. But yeah, I had a hotline. In fact, if you go on Wayback Machine around that time, you'll see the ad like, hey, you want to hear a wrestling hotline for free? No 900 numbers. Call the G Spot. Because when it comes to reporting accurate wrestling news, we hit the G Spot every time. That was my catchphrase in 2001 or 2002. So you got one hotline interviewing Todd Gordon on 9/11. Everybody else, we don't know what the fuck to do. So wrestling's on hiatus. Baseball's on hiatus. Football is on hiatus. Everything's on hiatus. And I don't want to get too much into the personal stories. Maybe later, if anybody wants to call in and share their personal memory, even with wrestling around that time. But, you know, a lot of you already know that I tried to take my boat and go to where the towers were, and Coast Guard stopped us when we got near the Statue of Liberty and, you know, blah, 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 blah. But I will tell you, does it feel like yesterday? No, it doesn't. It feels more like maybe 10 years ago. You know, it just blows me away that it's already 20 years. Especially when you think about when I worked for XPW, you know, next year's 20 years. I had the privilege to work for ECW for the last year or 10 months of existence. I was pushing tickets through my hotline. So, you know, going and being able to go backstage and meet some guys and become friendly with some people in mid 2000 to early 2001, you know, that's 20 years. So it blows me away that's already 20 years. So shout out to Steph. Shout out to Steph and everybody tuning in. Thank you for hanging out tonight. So now we have the WWF. And again, there was a lot of unknown at the time. You know, everybody immediately thought of Owen Hart. When you watch the documentary that WWE just put out yesterday, talking about 9/11, and the documentary is short because it really just focused on 3 days. That's really what it was, but 3 days. But I will tell you at the time, and if people really want me to, I'll be more than happy to do it tomorrow. I'll pull a whole bunch of websites and articles from 2001. You can read it for yourself. When rumor started coming out on Wednesday, which would have been September 12th, that Vince was seriously considering having Smackdown live in Houston, Texas, everybody was bringing up the Owen Hart tragedy. And I will tell you, when you watch this documentary, Edge was totally honest and said, no, I with all due respect, I wanted to be home with my family. A lot of people did. Now you look back on it, and a lot of people felt, you know, because George Bush, his speech saying that, you know, then the terrorists can never crush our spirit. I remember George Bush at that time vividly telling everyone, go out, go shopping, go to a movie, have fun. And a lot of people, you know, easier said than done. But his point was, show these terrorists, they're not going to stop you from doing the things that you love to do, that you're free. And that's what convinced Vince McMahon to have SmackDown that week. Vince McMahon wanted to be the first big event to come together after 9/11 and show that the terrorists are not going to keep us down. Now, over the years, you know, when you see WWE and they're doing things for cancer and doing this for that, very recently I criticized them, you know, because and I know this is really bad comparison, but you'll see where I'm going with it. Jake Atlas. Jake Atlas, the beginning of Gay Pride Month. He beats LA Knight right in the middle of a storyline where Ted DiBiase is trying to figure out who should be his $1 million champion. Well, he was eyeing Cameron Grimes and LA Knight. Well, here comes Jake Atlas, beats LA Knight. Not even considered by Ted DiBiase. I had no problem. I like Jake Atlas. What I had a problem with was WWE had the tweet already typed. And again, you go back and you watch that night of NXT. Look at the timestamp when Jake Atlas pinned LA Knight. Look at the timestamp of that tweet. That tweet, they hit that tweet literally 2 seconds after he got that pin. What a way to start off Gay Pride Month. And for me, I was like, man, if Jake Atlas wasn't gay, would he have gotten that pin? And it's like, to have it typed up already, let your viewers write that. Let his peers write that. WWE having the tweet already typed up and ready to go, it's like, it just rubbed the wrong way. And for 20 years, a lot of people feel that you'll see some situations, come into play with WWE booking decisions, and you're like, oh, this person's pushed just simply because it's Black History Month. And a lot of you understand what I'm talking about. So at that time, I don't think anybody thought that Vince wanted to be, the ego, the macho, like, oh, no, I can't pass up this opportunity of being the first one to do this and this and that. Say what you want about Linda McMahon and her being affiliated with Trump, or Vince McMahon, how he views himself in politics, and some others in that company. But even if you're on the opposite fence of their views, I don't think there's any question in anybody's eyes that the McMahon family in WWE is truly USA. The tribute to the troops over and over and over, visiting troops in hospitals, going to see them. Sure, for their, publicists, that's awesome publicity. Oh my God, you don't pass up an opportunity like that. Puffy89, thank you for the super chat. That SmackDown will never get the proper recognition it deserves. Oh, no, it does. It truly does. It's just, let me put it this way. Today, 20 years after 9/11, I agree with you for today. Take note of those people who are hardcore AEW, who gave no props to WWE on the 20th anniversary of what happened for what they did at that time. Totally ignored it, totally, went beyond it, because to them, they can't have anything positive about WWE right now. Sure, they'll comment about Brock Lesnar, and they'll comment about Kevin Owens, and they'll comment about Sami Zayn, but more it's like, oh, these contracts are up. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, they got to go right to AEW. I would be more concerned that when people are putting all their posters up about AEW right now and what they absolutely love, take note that none of the AEW originals are on these posters. The thumbnails, 95% of them, it's CM Punk, it's Adam Cole, it's this. Yeah, you get a little Young Bucks and a little Kenny Omega here and there, but for the most part, the majority, no AEW originals. So they can't have any positive go WWE's way in any way, shape, or form. There's a lot of places today that didn't even report that yesterday's SmackDown was the highest grossing SmackDown that they've ever done. That's a big deal, because that shows you that, yes, it was the Garden. Yes, it was a special feel to it. Last night's SmackDown was awesome. was awesome. And you realize that their roster is not extremely thin. You realize that, you know, as much as you want to put out a pay-per-view type quality SmackDown, you know, you can't do that every week. It's not maintainable. You know, less subpar SmackDowns or average SmackDowns is what makes what happened last night feel so special. But you can't maintain that level every week. So when Vince decided that he was going to have SmackDown Live, I remember the internet totally ripping him apart, and they kept bringing up Owen Hart. He didn't stop the show when Owen Hart plunged to his death. This guy, it's still such a risk, you know, that they could try to blow up the building. Somebody could show up in the building and do, you know, what they were doing. And that's what everybody focused on. He's out of his fucking mind. But yet, when the people showed up, they were in droves, and everybody chanting USA, some coming with flags, bringing signs, because everybody had that patriotic feeling inside. You don't have to be political. You don't have to be extremely religious or extremely patriotic. You just wanted to show, like, man, I love the country I live in. And ain't no terrorists are going to stop what we do. And we're going to, like, taunt it in their face. We're going to chant USA. We're going to watch pro wrestling. We're going to yell. The wrestlers are going to kick ass. And we're going to rub it in their face. See, you failed. You failed. You tried to hurt America, and you did kill thousands of people. But the spirit and the heart of America, all you did was the opposite. You brought us closer together. It backfired for terrorists. Now today, people, they're embarrassed to be American, like proud to like put down this country, you know, focusing on the negative instead of pushing the positive. You know, I brought it up Thursday that when little good things happen, even in this chat room, it rubs off on others. I talked about the Conan drive. And this woman, Crystal, I wish I would reconnect with her. Beautiful, beautiful woman. I don't know if anybody out there Google searched the article. But simply because of the drive we were doing, and this guy, Chad, one of my listeners at the time, donated his kidney to Conan. This girl, Crystal, she's got this calling that she needs to help someone else. She gave her kidney to a total stranger and saved someone's life. And when I got the article sent to me from California, and I'm reading the article, and they ask her, why did you do this? And she brings up what we were doing for Conan. Man, that just hits you in the chest, but in a beautiful, positive way. Like, this girl gave up one of her kidneys. She felt the need to do it after what she saw other people doing good. In 2021, that is the complete opposite of what went on in 2001. In 2001, everybody was proud. Sure, America has had a lot of bad things happen for hundreds of years. There's a lot of stain in our country, but good should always prevail over evil. And to me, you show good acts, that may rub off on someone else wanting to do the same. When you want to focus on the negative and use a negative as a reason to destroy other people's businesses, to burn things down and this and that, sure. When racist cops do what they do, I absolutely I have no issue with anybody protesting and people wanting to shut down the cops and everything else. Absolutely. But you know that there is a large group of people out there that will use that simply to just profit from it. Here in Queens, New York, we got a mall, Queens Center Mall. I want you, if you want to check it out, go look it up. When the George Floyd tragedy went on, and a lot of places were looting a lot of areas. A lot of you probably don't even know this. Philip Maffey, thank you, my friend. He can't believe it's 20 years since 9/11. And I agree with you. The country is so much more divided. And, we didn't have social media 20 years ago like now. So you basically, if you had someone, what's that religious group that when there's a funeral, like they'll show up and they'll just like yell and scream and curse and put people down. And I can't remember the name right now, the Baptist Ministry or something like that. And what happens with them is they try to show up somewhere. They're shouted down by droves of people preaching love, preaching happiness. Westboro Baptist Church. Thank you, Xander and Lion and Bobby. Notice they can't do that on Twitter. They can't do that on Twitter. But when they do it in person, you got droves of people that will shut them out. There was a rapper not too long ago, some artist, and he drove down the street. And I think he was doing like a Bee Gees song or something like that. And it was just like they were dancing and singing this and that. And you got this Baptist church looking at it and like they look like fools. In 2001, that was the norm. You had some whack jobs that wanted to stir shit up, that wanted to cause controversy, that wanted to focus on the bad. No. Everybody else would chant USA even louder. Now in 2021, somebody writes, I'm embarrassed to be an American. And look, if a bad cop kills a member of my family, and I see the person get away with this and that, it's hard to want to love your country. I'm not saying that it's not. But overall, let me get back to the Queen Center Mall thing. Go look it up. A lot of places were getting looted. So there were a couple of groups out there, Facebook groups, that were trying to organize people to show up in areas and loot. And the Queen Center Mall, you had a bunch of kids, teenagers, get off the train right by Queen Center Mall, and their intention was to loot Queen Center Mall, break the glass, steal, get back on the train and go home. Do you know about 95% of all the students, all the kids that showed up to loot? There were, I shouldn't say 95%, but about 90% of them all from rich white families. Could care less about George Floyd. Could care less about everything else going on. They use that as a reason to try to just benefit themselves. Hey, look, everybody, I got a pair of sneakers. Hey, look, everybody, I stole this iPhone. So that is one of the biggest differences back then. So Vince was getting ripped apart online because he wanted to have the event. A lot of people were very, very, very nervous. On that night of Smackdown, everybody in the back of their mind, oh my God, hopefully security, checked everybody and, hope to God there isn't any, attacks whatsoever, because a lot of people seriously was scared and thought something was up. So Vince McMahon comes out, and I'll always remember Vince wearing that long button-down shirt out of his pants, looking a little bit rugged. And everything that Vince said, I mean, as much as a lot of you don't like Vince right now, everything that Vince said came from here. And, he said the right things that night. Now, again, there was no WCW. There was no ECW. There was no NWA TNA. You had some indie groups, and that was it. That was it. So there's no competition. There's nothing. This is right smack in the middle of the invasion angle. Remember, WCW went out of business March 26, 2001, officially. So we're September 11th. That's 4.5 months later. 5.5 months later. So we're still in the invasion angle. And Steve Austin is the monster heel leading invasion. Kurt Angle was involved in that storyline as well. JBL was a monster heel. But that night, didn't matter. Didn't matter. Vince came out and said what he said. Crowd loved it. Lillian Garcia. If you want to focus on any one person from that little mini documentary that WWE put out yesterday, it's the Lillian Garcia stuff. Because, Lillian Garcia that day was not planning on singing the national anthem. That's something that WWE does not do at wrestling events. And she did it. And still, a lot of people say that her singing that night was the biggest memory they have from that night. And you see the crying, the tears. I mean, it put chills down everybody's spine. I mean, it's just epic, epic. Lillian Garcia is beautiful, inside and out. I mean, truly. I know they tried to put her involved in storylines, and the stuff they did with Howard Finkel was a little bit disgusting, to say the least. But Howard Finkel truly was a sweetheart to a lot of them as well. So, but Lillian is just awesome. Now, we're going to do a little trivia contest in a minute. Figure out a good prize. Spur of the moment. But, that night, very reminiscent of Owen Hart's tragedy. Reminiscent later on of Eddie Guerrero's passing. Chris Benoit, before they realized he killed his family. You had wrestlers that paid tribute to those who died on 9/11, the first responders. Everybody that wanted to got a chance to say something. And the one person that always sticks out to me to this day is JBL. And JBL, man, at that time, it was so hard to like this guy because all you heard behind the scenes is the biggest bully on the block. I mean, Britt Baker might be the baddest bitch on the block, and Mike Tyson was the baddest man on the planet. JBL was the biggest bully on the block. And you would hear crazy-ass stories of him showing up in the shower just wearing cowboy boots or wrestling boots and, some wild shit. And he came out there and he just talked as John Layfield. And that guy's love for this country. I mean, I still remember to this day the crowd freaking popping. And JBL at that time was a heel. And yeah, you're right, Kevin. 20 years, Kevin Milwaukee. 20 years go by in a flash. It blows me away it's been 20 years. Now, if it was 19-year anniversary, 17-year, 14-year, would I be doing this tonight? Probably not. To me, I think 20 years, 10 years deserved. I think 20 years deserves, a little special time talking about it because of all the garbage that's going on in this world. When you see people that profit off the garbage, they're not going. Do you realize how weird some people would come across with all of the garbage that they spew, that they come out on 9/11 and then do the opposite and tell everybody, look, we need to do. I mean, they would be called a liar in 48 hours. So JBL saying what he said that night, that hit home. Living in New York and being a New Yorker, lifelong like myself, you know, it was awesome and even weird. Boston Red Sox, all the fans in the crowd, I love New York signs. Even when the Diamondbacks took on the Yankees for that World Series, everybody was rooting for New York. And, you know, it felt a little weird, but everybody just cared. They didn't turn around and because of the terrorists say, you know, look, you know, we all got to get together. But remember, there's racist pigs in this world and there's this and there's this and this. Look, be good, care, just set the example. And that just may turn someone around, being a better person. Tweeting about it does shit. That's why I got a little bit annoyed looking at the people all over the place today saying, look, today, can we just be better with each other? Fuck that. Why do you have to tell people to do that? Why do you need a tragedy to do that? Oh, because it looks good. I got 95 likes out of it. Oh, I feel like I did I did my part. No, you do your part every day. You don't say, oh, we need to come together as a wrestling family, and then 24 hours later, you know, make fun of people simply because they're singing Judas, or simply because they like WWE and they still are not a big fan of AEW. You know, actions speak louder than words. And people think, let me just type a couple of sentences on Twitter, and yeah, I did my part. Let's move on. Just like the Twitter, the stuff with Daphne. I know, I understand a lot of people, you know, didn't follow her career. And I know that that is a very delicate subject. But, you know, suddenly everybody cared. And then when it came time, like, okay, look, you know, she felt extremely alone, very depressed. Here's a celebration of her service. Let's all show her as she's being laid to rest that, no, we truly did care about you. And I swear to God, I DM'd so many people like, hey, could you tweet this, pass it around? Her service is going to start at 2:30 p.m. Only one person out of maybe 15 posted it. But they're tweeting about AEW stuff, WWE stuff with Japan, stuff with this. And I'm like, man, some of you fucking fakes, man. But it's not for me to expose them. People every day in their lives will eventually figure it out. So, now, Stephanie that night, yeah, she compared 9/11 to a family steroid trial. And, I mean, at the time, we all understood why she said it, but she got ripped apart online. You know, Max Caster, I always say Casper. Casper is a ghost. Max Caster talked about Simone Biles, talked about Duke Lacrosse. And for a whole week, nobody who was there live found it offensive enough to complain. For a whole week, the people that edited the shows thought it was okay enough that they could put it on YouTube. For a whole week, every wrestler who heard it on the speakers in the back of Daly's place for a whole week, not one of them went up to Tony Khan and said, I don't think this should be aired. It was only after it aired, suddenly everybody got offended by it. I can tell you that Stephanie's comments in 2001 is not the same as Max Caster. People were offended that night. People were pissed off. I remember, like, what are you, fucking stupid? You had people fucking jumping out of windows, dying to their death, 500,000 feet, whatever it was. And you're comparing steroid allegations to people fucking falling for the dying. You crazy? We understood why she said it. She's been forgiven over the years because she's very young at the time. Yin-Yo! Welcome, Yin-Yo. Much love. She's been forgiven because she was very young at the time, but it was a very, very dumb thing to say. That's why it's edited out in a lot of areas. Trust me, when they recorded that documentary that just came out yesterday, I guarantee in the back of her mind, Stephanie was thinking about some of the things she said that day. And you know what was so weird about it? Even though she was just looking out for her family. I'm screw. Just don't screw with the chat. Welcome. Everybody else that came out and paid a few words about our country and New York and the first responders and how we're not going to let this hold us back. Everybody was just looking out for the victims and the first responders and everybody out there who was affected in any way. And Stephanie focusing on her family. That's what was so wild about it, that everybody's comments were the total opposite. It's not like she wasn't aware of what everybody else was saying. Oh, these things were pre-recorded. So you would think, like, after it was recorded and, you know what? Don't air mine. I don't think it's a good idea. But it aired. It was really, really strange at the time. How old is Stephanie now? Whatever age is now, chop 20 years off of it. Now, let's do okay, she was 22 at the time. Wow, Stephanie's only 42? Wow. Younger than, see, people say it's just 44. Yeah, so she was 24, 25 years old at the time. Still young. See, you got to understand, this is how I look at it, okay? This is how I look at it. Stephanie, okay, thank you, Sean, KB. Stephanie was 25 at the time. The steroid trial was 1993, 8 years before. So if she was 25 at the time of the tragedy, she was 17 when the steroid trial went down. She's a teenager. You know, a lot of younger people at that time didn't truly understand what was going on. So I kind of, you know what I mean? Like, all right, you know, it was what it was. And I think she obviously learned since then. But, you know, she wasn't the only dopey person. Well, she isn't the only person to say something dopey about 9/11. And I searched this out today. I searched and I searched and I searched. And I couldn't believe I could not find it. I mean, I did, if you've ever searched on Google and you put things in quotations, so it forces it to look for a specific phrase, I put things in quotations and it was nowhere to be found. I truly believe you can pay services to try to get things deleted from the net. And I truly believe this person paid a service to get this removed from the net. Problem is, my website history is still out there. So I pulled up my website and I found the exact quote. So a little trivia contest tonight. How's about we do How's about we do $100 gift card? You can choose WWE, AEW, Pro Wrestling Tees, e-gift card, or Amazon. Amazon, WWE, AEW, Pro Wrestling Tees, $100 gift card. Just tell me who made the comment and why the person made the comment. Person compared their situation to 9/11. So who was the person and what was the person comparing 9/11 to? It's wrestling. It's wrestling. And someone's got to remember it because I brought it up many times over the years. I just didn't have the precise comment. I'll give you a hint. The exact phrase was, this has been like a 9/11 for us, in the sense that 9/11 changed everything for everybody in so many different ways. This is the same thing. That is the exact quote. If you Google it, you will not find it. This has been like a 9/11 for us in the sense that 9/11 changed everything for everybody in so many different ways. This is the same thing. This person actually said, this is the same thing. No, we know Stephanie, what Stephanie said. Someone else said something. I'll give you another hint. The person said it in 2004. I'm looking. No one has got it right yet. I think it'll surprise some people. How could it Manson? How could it be Ric Flair's plane crash? That was at 1973 or 74. Not Muhammad Hassan. Not a bad choice. Dixie Carter, not a bad choice either. Not bad. Wow. For those on audio only, my apologies that you're not part of it. Anybody that's on like Facebook and other places, shoot on over to YouTube. Post a comment quick before someone gets it. Wow, nobody's going to get it? Wow, so we may not give it away after all tonight. It's someone relevant. Very relevant. In fact, I think the person does work in some capacity with WWE right now. Yeah, it's kind of another hint. Or has at least worked with WWE the last couple of years. Wow, not one person. All right, I'll give you another hint. I'll replace one word in the statement with a different word, and that should get it. All right, here's the quote again. This has been like a 9/11 for the company in the sense that 9/11 changed everything for everybody in so many different ways. This is the same thing. That is the exact phrase, word for word. It's not Paul Heyman. It's not Hulk Hogan. It's not Bruce Pritchard. It's not Vince McMahon. It's not the road. But trust me, if it was Vince, people would have been repeating that over and over again. This person actually compared something that happened to their company and compared it to 9/11. I have a picture. If I post the picture, we will have a winner literally in 5 seconds. So I'm going to have to post the picture. I think some people will be very surprised at the person. All right. Who is the person that made that statement? Do you want to know what caused the change for the company in question? This is one of the first Photoshops that I've ever done in my lifetime. I did this Photoshop about 17, 18 years ago. And I was like, it was a pretty damn good job of it because I actually took the person's body and molded it behind the window and everything. And I'm like, wow, this actually came out pretty good. All right, here's your photo hint. It had to do with this company. Now can you figure it out who it was? Now let's be honest. This guy, it ended up he didn't do what he was being accused of. So, I have talked to Rob many times over the years. Rob is a good guy. So I don't want anybody, this Photoshop I did was 2004, but it was as a result of Feinstein. No, Macaulay Culkin did not say that. Wow, nobody's got it. Nobody. I guess we'll hold off the gift for next week. So I'm going to count down 10 seconds. Nobody gets it in 10 seconds, and that's it. Ready? 10, 9. David Peralta. No, you didn't get it. It's not Feinstein. It was about Feinstein, but it's not Feinstein. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wow. 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 I swear to God, if anybody watches it on a replay, when I counted to 1, it's like somebody won just now. Somebody just won that. Anthony Alston got it right. Gabe Sapolsky. When I disliked him a long time ago, there was legitimate reason behind it. Again, people make people out to be these wonderful, beautiful people, and they say some pretty dumb and do some very negative things over the years. Now, look, I have changed my views on Gabe Sapolsky. But Gabe Sapolsky, when Feinstein and he got exposed that he was going to meet with a teenager. Now, again, over the years, we've learned the truth, and Rob Feinstein was set up. And Rob Feinstein did not type the LOL, I'll pretend you said 18. Never said that. In fact, I wish Rob Feinstein would have sued the people involved, but he just wanted to get away from this as much as possible. There's a lot of things about that a lot of people still don't know to this day. I feel bad looking back at how much I ripped these guys apart at that time, especially Rob. Rob turned out to be one of the good guys out there. Seriously, I'm not kidding. But when Ring of Honor and this was exposed, like the Catch a Predator things, they were supposed to do this big event in, I think, New York or New Jersey, and they had sold like 1,000 tickets. And they were like, no, the show must go on. And show did go on. And at first, they tried to play that Feinstein was out of the company, and he really wasn't. I got to post a link to the article I did back then, and it's got some really revealing stuff in it, some wild stuff that nobody ever covered. Then you'll realize why I was considered such an asshole back then. If you remember the Perry Saturn stuff, this is the Ring of Honor version of it. But in 2004, Gabe Sapolsky, in an interview about the Rob Feinstein, said that this is the same thing. What happened to Ring of Honor is the same thing that happened with 9/11. And so many people just let it go. To me, that remark was worse than Stephanie, because Stephanie said it 2 days after 9/11. And she was basically saying, like, look, my family went through this horrible tragedy and test, and, we remain strong, and you all can remain strong. Look, she's 22, 25. It's 2 days after 9/11. All right, she said something stupid. Gabe Sapolsky's comment was 3 years, 2.5 years after 9/11. 2.5 years later. And he still said that. Yeah. Anthony, get in touch with me so I can hook you up. So anyway, now I'll share with you 2 personal things about me. I've never shared it before, but maybe you'll get a kick out of it. That's why when people say to me, oh, DT, you should get verified on Twitter, I don't have to fucking prove that I'm of merit. Here you go. Here's an article from 2002. This is us presenting a check for $25,000 for that went towards a fund for the rescue workers for 9/11. This is from a newspaper. See? Port Authority Police. We raised $25,000 through the store to give for World Trade Center. I'm going to show you another one. This is 2006. When we had the war in Iraq, we sent loads of food to the troops in Iraq. See here, toothpaste, toothbrushes, razor blades, toiletries, non-perishable foods, peas, corn, yams. But he also gave them sausage, provolone cheese, all Italian stuff. Those are two of, and I could pull up more if I had the time. Let me take this out of here. There we go. So, just figured I'd share like two little personal stories, you know. So looking back on 9/11 at that time, you know, WWE, forget about 2021, WWE, it really helped a little bit with healing. Didn't take away the pain, didn't take away the anguish, didn't bring people's lives back. It didn't reverse anything that happened, but it was the biggest step to show everyone that these terrorists may have been able to get through on September 11, 2001 in those areas of our country. But it'll never stop us from doing what we do, the freedom that we enjoy, love, patriotism, and it just brought everybody closer together. And, you know, then other events followed. And my God, as a Mets fan in New York, that Mike Piazza home run against the Braves, I remember getting chills upon chills upon chills upon chills. And I still have that game in my video collection. It was very surreal. It was very surreal. It blows me away that it's been 20 years already. But September 11th, you know, I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, in a lot of ways, we've gotten better with security and being aware. And look, when tragedy does strike, I mean, people do get together. I mean, we see storms, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and especially you see like flooding. You'll see people, black, white, straight, gay, doesn't matter, everybody just trying to help everyone, try to save everyone. You see what happened in Texas a couple of years ago, and you see New Orleans, you see other areas. You watch the footage, no one stops and thinks, should I help this person or this person? No, people just drop what they were doing to try to help people. And it just sucks that 20 years later, it seems like in a lot of ways we've taken some steps backward. That's why, like I say, you know, discussions that we have on this show, it's not very popular and it's not sexy enough to get loads of people to tune in. But I still am one of those that truly believes that at the end of the day, it's better for good to rub off on other people than hatred or heat or animosity. All right, wrestling, AEW. It's awesome right now. We're going to get to see some fantasy matches. CM Punk is there. Some people who are not treated the best in WWE are going to be there. Maybe Kevin Owens shows up there and Sami Zayn. All right, that's great. But instead of just celebrating how great it is to be a wrestling fan, and especially if you like AEW, why put down people that are not into it? Why do you have to step on the people that maybe haven't been converted to AEW yet? Why do you have to be converted to AEW? Why can't you like both? And why do you have to feel like you got to keep your mouth shut if you don't like AEW? Why do these people, you see, I talked about it Thursday, that AEW botches account. Surprisingly, Thursday, he's back. I filed 2 criminal complaints for that guy. Again, I don't want nothing in return. He didn't ask me to do it. I did it myself. He posted a statement to let everyone know that, you know, the person is going to get theirs and this and that. You know, to this day, to this minute, I have yet to get a DM from the guy. Dude, man, I didn't ask you to do that, but thank you. Nothing. Zero. No, thank you. No, shout out to so-and-so who tried to help me with this. Zero. Zilch. It reminds me of a story. I'll tell you a quick story. Some of you may even know this story already. Shortly after 9/11, this guy came into my office. Indian guy. Livery, dollar van driver. You know, someone that definitely got bullshit from people, stereotyping him. And he came into my office and he wanted insurance. So I said, you know, how'd you hear about my place and everything like that? Oh, so-and-so recommended me and this and that. So he asks me to get him livery insurance. Runs a dollar van and he sends whatever money that he makes, he sends it back to his family in Pakistan. Fine. While he's in my office and I'm taking his information down, he says, hey, I see you're a Progressive guy. At the time I wrote for Progressive Insurance. I said, yeah. He says, I got a problem. I don't know if you can help me with it. I said, what's the problem? Anyway, long story short, he tells me that he had car insurance with another broker and his car was stolen. And for 9 months, he paid insurance for a car that was stolen. And he never got another car at that time, and he wanted to know what he could do about that. And I said to him, I said, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that you got a car stolen and you didn't cancel your insurance, and for 9 months you continued paying insurance even though you didn't have a car? He says, yeah. I said, why did you do that? He says, my broker told me to do that. So who the hell is your broker? So he tells me who it is. He's like, you know, if there's anything you could do, I'd appreciate this and that. So you could tell, you know, because he's Indian and because it's right after 9/11 and because he can't seem to get anybody to help him, I said, all right, let me see what I can do. So I contact Progressive for him. And I said, you know, look, I got a weird situation. I said, I don't know why nobody wants to help this guy, but I told him. And the person says to me from the insurance is, are you serious? I said, yeah. I said, I think the guy, you know, got taken advantage of. I'm like, look, I'm not asking you to do anything, but let me know if there's anything you could do. So I tell him, and I'm like, look, they might give you a month refund or something. I said, but you know, unfortunately, you know, you got a little taken advantage of. Maybe you file a complaint against him. I said, you know, I can't guarantee anything. So about 2-3 days later, I get a phone call from somebody at Progressive. Raymond Estrella, welcome. Welcome, my friend. I get a call a couple of days later, and they said, look, we're going to give him all his money back. It's like $4 or $5 grand. So we're going to give him all his money back. I was like, are you serious? And like, yeah. Now, did they do it? Maybe because they felt that the guy was being taken advantage of because he was Indian or whatever. I didn't ask. But I told the guy, I said, listen, I have some good news for you. I said, they're going to give you all your money back. And he's like, how much? And I said, they're giving you the whole, everything. Everything. The guy was on the phone. Oh my God, you don't understand. I can't tell you. Oh my God, please. I can't, I am so grateful and this and that. Oh, please. I can't. I'm like, look, you know, it's fine. I said, I'm glad I was able to help. So he says to me, he goes, I want to give you something, as a thank you. And I'm like, no, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do that. He's like, no. He's like, I thought maybe I get a month's back. He said, you got me everything. I said, okay. I said, fine. So 2 days later, he comes in. He's got a bag. And he's like, oh, I can't thank you again. I'm so grateful. Nobody would do that for me and this and that. I'm like, you're welcome. You're welcome. So he gives me the bag. I put the bag aside. Didn't even open. Whenever somebody gives me something, I usually don't open in front of them, but I put it aside. And he's like, okay. He says, I'm going to go, but thank you again. So now keep in mind that 4 or 5 days ago, I set up a new livery policy for him so he could drive his dollar van and make money. So after he leaves, I have another customer in the office, and the customer is like, what happened? And I told the customer a brief story. I said, the guy came in, wanted insurance, just happened in conversation. It ends up he was being taken advantage of, this and that. I got him like $5,000 back. So he's like, are you opening your gift? I said, no, I'll open it later. He's like, open it. I had no idea what was inside. I opened the bag, and it's a cup of coffee and a bagel. I took it out, I put it on my desk, and I showed the customer. And he looks at me, he's like, that's fucked up. And I'm like, you know what? It's the thought that counts. Do you know a week later, I got in my office a note that he changed the new policy I wrote for him to another broker. That's how people act sometimes. Coffee and a bagel, and all the work I did sending him up a new policy, he went somewhere else. That's what happens sometimes. You would think sometimes you do things for people. Sometimes it's better to maybe just don't give them anything. If the guy would have said to me, look, I want to give you something, but I really need this for my family and this, I'd be like, you don't have to say anything else. But to actually think in the back of his mind, this guy got me back $4,000 or $5,000 more than what I was expecting. Let me give him a bagel and a cup of coffee as a thank you. So this guy online, not even a thank you. Dude, bro, I don't know who you are, but I got to thank you for doing that. Nobody would do that for me, and I appreciate it. Nothing, zero. The guy's back, criticizing AEW again, being the asshole that he was before, and not even a private DM. Dude, thank you. Doesn't bother me. But my point out of all of this is that when you see what's going on with 9/11, with 20 years later, and a lot of you feel that we are 1,000 times more divided now than what we were in 2001, do not get disappointed or take a step back or get frustrated when you may do things for some people out there and you're not even acknowledged for it. You know how it felt last week with the Daphne stuff? And I responded to all these people, look, is this the number? Is this, that? Not even a week later, a little DM privately, dude, I got swamped with so many things at that time, but thank you for, trying to help. Nothing. Yesterday, DM 14 or 15 people. Look, they're doing the ceremony. Let's get those numbers up for her to show that everybody cared, not because, she was about to blow her brains out or shoot herself in the chest, but let's show celebrating that everybody cares. 14 out of the 15 ignored it. And I know at least 10 were tweeting about AEW ratings and stuff like that. In the process, I'm like, wow, what? It really shows you the level of fake that goes on out there. Keep focus. Keep your eye on everything. be positive. And when you come across people like that, you know, you forgive, but you never forget. Just like with 9/11, you never forget. Never forget. It could be September 11th. It could be July 11th. It could be October 11th. It could be January 24th. You treat every day and everybody you come across. You don't need a tragedy to want to show respect for someone. Hey, could we be better towards each other today? No, it's about you be better towards each other every day. So, check this out. A lot of you out there know this. Thank you for that super chat. Thank you for the 99 cents. I will spend it wisely. Hey, if people are going to do that and pay, whatever. A lot of you don't know this, but a plane went down in my parents' neighborhood 2 months after 9/11. A lot of you may not know this, but in Rockaway, Queens, thank you, Austin. 2 months after 9/11, on November 12th, I believe it was, a plane crashed. I think it was on its way to the Dominican Republic and killed 200 plus people on the plane. This plane went down 4 blocks away from my parents' house, just to show you how close this was of a plane crashing on my parents' house. Back in February, when I went for the second shot of the vaccine, a lot of you out there always wanted to see the spot where the plane went down in Far Rockaway, that almost, because it went right past all the houses and could have clipped some of those. That's how low it was. But for any of you out there, I forgot that I even recorded this. This video is only 2 minutes long. But for any of you out there that want to check this out, this is a video for those who always wanted to see where that plane went down in Rockaway 2 months after 9/11 and how close it was to my parents' house. Forgive me. This is from my cell phone inside my car. I had no mount, but yeah, I figured I'd share it with you tonight. So check this out. This was 2 months after 9/11. The plane went down and killed over 200 people. Okay, another video. This is something that a lot of you have asked me in the past that wanted to see. You always wanted to see the location of where that plane went down right after 9/11 in Rockaway. This is it right here. This is where the plane went down. Beach 128th Street and Neponset Avenue. And I just want you to see how close it was to my parents' house. Well, you just saw that was the location. I mean, obviously they built the house since then, but you know, it has been 20 years. But just to show you how close that plane crash was to my parents' house, it's scary. I mean, it is a couple of blocks, but you know, when you realize that literally 5 blocks from your house, you know, plane goes down. And one day soon I'll post the footage of my father hanging out with Hillary. She showed up at the plane crash site, I think the next day or the same day. And my father brought food and bottled water for all the first responders, brought a few other things, and you know, was hanging out with them. So, and the picture that she took was pretty funny because she's wearing shades. I mean, it was a somber sight, obviously. But yeah, so this is my parents' block right here. So, all right, where are you going? Where are you going? Anybody that's been on my Patreon, you saw that video footage of what my parents' house looked like right after 9/11. The house was condemned. I meant Superstorm Sandy.
And we're able to save it. But you remember me making this
drive down this block. It was so eerie a couple of days. But yeah, so the parents' house is right on the corner, and that's pretty much it. So I'm going to shut this down, but I just wanted you to see how close it was from, the plane crash site. Scary. So, all right, everybody. Talk to you soon. Yeah, that's how close it was. Yeah, it was snowing when I got the second shot of the COVID vaccine. But, the video of my parents' house leveled after Superstorm Sandy, maybe I'll share it this year on a Thursday. I'll show it on the Thursday show. Expect to hear yours truly crying a little bit because, just reliving Sandy and not knowing. And by the way, the other day I finally watched the footage that I had recorded when I realized that nothing happened to my boat. So when we revisit Sandy and you see the footage of what the neighborhood looked like in the house, you see my parents' cars and you see the house. The house is like this. The cars spun around like toys. And how they survived that, it's a topic I don't bring up with them much ever. But it's, it's something that whenever I do talk to my mom briefly about it, she usually changes the subject. But, how they survived Sandy, I do not know to this day. I don't know how their house just did not get washed away in the ocean. So, but, hey, man, if these trolls want to keep doing this and keep paying money, that's fine with me. We got to make the super chats a minimum of like $10. If you're going to throw shade my way, well, actually, you know what? We'll do this. With the hit of a button, now the Streamlabs don't pop up anymore. So if you donate, thank you. I'll make sure I have breakfast tomorrow. So, so that's just the memories of 9/11. That was the picture of my dad with Hillary. That was at the crash site. My father had brought bottled water and food and, for the first responders that were there and lots of things. And Hillary was there and my dad's like, can I take a picture? She's like, sure. And I just thought it was pretty cool because, she's wearing shades and she's just hanging out. And my father's just like, let's take a picture. Anyway, we got a lot of trolls? I don't think so. See, I don't want to raise the super chat thing because I don't want it to be a money grab to anyone out there. And not everybody could swing like $5, $10 a pop. So, put it this way. I have it set up for like 3 or 6 seconds that they comment. They could only do it once. So they might get one in there, but then that's it. So look, man, it's all good. It's all good. We know where they usually come from. And it's these very, very grumpy people out there that they just can't handle the fact that we got a good thing going on over here. My God, let's see what this channel looks like in 5 years. I know there's a lot of shows out there that got a 10+ year head start from yours truly. I'm only up here a year and a half, a little more than a year and a half. Let's see 5 years from now what this looks like. And please, everyone, I'm older and I know this to be fact. Sooner or later, the loud, negative, shitting on everything, making people feel like garbage because they don't follow what someone else follows, it's going to become unpopular. Right now, because of COVID, because everybody is down, because everybody feels like deprived of things, that instead of going out and going for it, they'd rather just yell at the top of their lungs and make someone their victim. Take it out on someone. Sooner or later, that is going to become unpopular. And when it does become unpopular, you're going to realize is people are left with nothing. There are a lot of people out there that are gambling big time with AEW in the sense that they think AEW could do no wrong right now, that AEW, that ultimately they may get acknowledgement, get a job, get something out of it. And if that blows up in their face, it's going to be interesting to see how some of these people react. So, so anyway, I don't know. Do we even need to take calls tonight? You know, I saw a few of you earlier on saying, don't even bother taking calls tonight. Like, just have the convo about 9/11, and that's it. I will tell you, I saw Smackdown and I saw Rampage. I thought both shows were very good. I am with a lot of you out there that think that Adam Cole ultimately will turn on Kenny Omega. I don't think it's going to be a be in the elite storyline, because that is YouTube videos and what's on TV is a totally different thing. As far as SmackDown yesterday, yeah, a lot of people are saying calls are not needed today. We'll do calls on Monday. How's that? Look, SmackDown. Listen, man, I feel bad for Zelina Vega. Just the fact that she lost her dad in 9/11 is enough. She wanted to perform at the Garden yesterday. She didn't get the opportunity to do so. It got cut for time because of everything else that went on. I know that sounds awfully disappointing for Zelina Vega, and it is. But let's also be honest. A lot of people that were complaining about this are the same ones that are like, why is she wrestling on TV every week? What about Toni Storm? What about Naomi? What about this? What about that? She keeps losing. Suddenly everybody wants to see her on TV. Why? Because of 9/11? Think about that for a minute. So I felt bad that she had her time cut yesterday. 9/11, especially for Zelina Vega, is a lot more than appearing on SmackDown the day before at the Garden. I am hopeful that WWE will make it up to her. I'm hopeful that she didn't take it personally. Shout out to RMJ23. His dad, although fully vaccinated, is battling COVID right now. So hopefully, you know, he kicks its ass very, very quickly. Being vaccinated does help because you have some level of protection. You know, I still see these people online. Oh, I'm not going to get the shot because it doesn't prevent you from getting COVID. I totally respect anybody that doesn't get the shot, but you know, if I get the flu, I would rather have a flu shot in me so I know that my body has some instructions on how to kick its ass. I don't want it to be like Afghanistan, where COVID enters my body and my immune system puts down its guns and runs away. You know, at least I know that I have some protection in me. No vaccine protects anybody 100%. None. Zero. Why do people get a shot to prevent chickenpox? Why do people get a shot to prevent mumps? Why do people get a shot to protect other things? It doesn't protect you 100%. Why get that? So I hope he's okay. Benjamin, the shot does not prevent you from getting COVID. It lowers the effects of COVID. It diminishes the damage COVID could do to you because you have some preventative measures inside your body in the form of antibodies. The problem is, if you have secondary health issues that are serious, you know, even if you have the vaccine, it could still kill you. You have to be careful. So Zelina Vega, as I was saying, I feel terrible that she didn't get the opportunity to be on. But these people with this hashtag give SmackDown women a chance, honestly, shut up. Shut up. Because they're awfully silent every week on Dynamite. Because look at what Dynamite gives you. Again, you can't, people with this selective outrage, if you're going to use a hashtag, give SmackDown women a chance, where's the AEW hashtag? Oh, but it's on Rampage. What does that mean? Dynamite is the show. Yeah, Benjamin, there was a hashtag going around yesterday, give SmackDown women a chance. Look, I don't want to stir anything up here, but, when the women's revolution came around, what people refuse to admit, acknowledge, or even allow themselves to understand is that there are some forms of entertainment, some forms of sport that are more male-driven and more female-driven. And as much as you want to force a narrative because it's the right thing to do, business is what comes first. It always has to come first. Sometimes you force a narrative and it does more damage than it does good. Becky, Ronda, Charlotte. When we talked about it back then, the one thing that we noticed more than anything was that everybody else in the women's division was getting pushed aside so they could focus on Becky, Ronda, Charlotte. Another thing that they were doing was when men were feuding with each other, the men, before they could talk about how they wanted to tear their opponent apart, they would have to bring up how the women were making history. And it felt awfully forced. And look, it's unfortunate that the main event ended the way it did. And then Ronda, her WWE wrestling career since is pretty much, you know where that's been. The thing is that, and I've always said this, so the reason why you will not get a weekly TV show featuring just women is because for the last many bunch of years, a lot of people have fed this narrative that wrestling should be equal time. Equal amount of time for men, equal amount of time for women. People say that until they have to spend their own money running a promotion. They said that about AEW before it launched. The men, women were going to be paid the same pay scale based on whatever role you have. And do you honestly think outside of Britt Baker and I don't even know if Ruby Soho is breaking the bank right now. Does it really? You see what they're doing. Very, very, very small amount of attention on the women's side. And why? Because a lot of people feel that they don't have enough women strong enough to put on, 7, 10, 12-minute matches. And in fact, in a lot of ways, they don't want to because they have so many of these signees that they got to put on TV. And that's why you have so many factions and groups out there. So it's very easy to tweet about give women a chance until you actually run a promotion and you pay the money out of pocket and then you realize, okay, a lot of women, unfortunately don't draw as strong of ratings than others. Some do, no question, but it might only be 2 or 3 women. So it's very easy to say it when you are not the one running a promotion, but the selective outrage that will focus on the SmackDown women, but yet when you look at AEW or you even look, at some other promotions, they get one match out of the deal and nothing is barely said at all. Nothing. I always said for years and years and years, and I will stick to this, It's not a sexist thing to say. I have also said that there are more talented women now kicking ass in wrestling than ever in my lifetime. And I've been a wrestling fan since 1979. But I will also say that I truly believe the reason why WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, NXT, the reason why they will never ever launch a weekly women's wrestling show on television, not fucking YouTube, on television, not Peacock, on television, is because if those ratings are in the toilet, look at how much of a blow that gives to women in wrestling and the perception of equal time, both sides. And then you start realizing, okay, when it's a mixed show, men and women, it does this. When it's only men, it does this. When it's only women, it does this. They will not put a weekly women's show out there is because if the ratings are horrible, what does that say about women's wrestling? Now, for most of us, we understand that women's wrestling is not popular-wise as far as the level, where it's people will throw it in your face. If you don't like women's wrestling, you're a sexist, you're a homophobe, whatever they say. Not homophobe, you know what I'm saying. But the point is, if more women on a promotion are entertaining me more than the men, give me more women. Give me whoever is entertaining the most right now. Now, yes, WWE is at fault for not elevating some women like they should. Toni Storm makes a debut and then she disappears. They're trying to do a storyline where Naomi's trying to get a match. So it's not always the women's fault, but they're not going to dare. They're not going to dare do a weekly show. And then if it draws really terrible numbers, then that just basically shows everyone that, wrestling has always been a male-dominated sport. And it's not as male-dominated as what it used to be, but maybe not yet to be on a 50-50 level. Unless you're a promotion that has been blessed to have so many strong women on that card that you can have 3 men's matches and 3 women's matches, you can't force it. You can't force it. So anyway, I think I'm going to jet out of here. We did 2 hours and almost 18 minutes. Wanted to focus on 9/11. Flashing back to 2001, just the culture, the climate, the atmosphere, and what WWE did at that time to help us begin the healing process. And it was very important. It led to baseball. It led to others. It led to going to the movies, going shopping. It led to this. It led to that. And even to this day, a lot of people are very wary about going to some areas. I don't think that'll ever go away. But we cannot have what is continuing online. It's just terrible. It's terrible. But, every time I come here and hang out with all of you, that is enough proof that there is a ton of very good people still out there in this world. And, you got to just mute the negative people. There's a lot to be upset for right now, no question. But, you got to try to make it better. You can't just take the shit and just emphasize the shit. And then when someone wants to do good, that's not accepted. That's just awful. It's awful. But I'm looking at some of the chat room. I want to thank everybody for hanging out tonight. Just some casual convo. I like the fact that I didn't have any notes in front of me. None. Nothing. Just coffee and water. That's it. So everyone in the comment section, if you have any comments from 9/11, whether it's personal or something with wrestling, from that Smackdown event, what was your favorite moment? I don't think we need to put least favorite because Stephanie will probably run away with it. But, what stuck out to you? Like 20 years later, even if you were too young or maybe not even around in 2001, you look back and, you see what went down and watch that episode, what sticks with you the most? Because for me, what stuck with me the most was JBL, Lillian, Sigging, and even The Rock. There was some good moments. I mean, even with the invasion storyline, to see a lot of wrestlers out of character and just everybody coming together. Back then you didn't see that all that much. I mean, business was not protected like it was in the 70s or even up until the 80s. But still, to see everybody on the rampway and feeling, and you know what you can notice too? I always remember too, take my glass off of this, Rhino. You look when the camera is on Rhino. If you look closely, you'll see this. Watch my cheek, you'll see this. See what I'm doing? Some people, when you get very, very emotional and you try to hold it in, you grind your teeth. And you look at Rhino. There's a few others that did it too. But you could see a lot of people holding back the emotions. And, it was just a very emotional day. And I'm telling you, if you weren't around at that time, you'd be shocked on how much Vince McMahon was vilified for even thinking about doing this so close to 9/11, because there was so much unknown at the time. But it ended up being what was needed. And yes, it seems like WWE capitalizes over the years on certain charities and moments to make themselves, that infamous philanthropy comment that Stephanie said one time. But at that time, no, it was, we're not going to let these terrorists keep us locked in our house and take away our freedom and what we love to do. And we're going to go out and enjoy ourselves and show them that, you're not going to be able to get at the heart of America. So, all right, everybody, enjoy the rest of the weekend. Here it's 10:24. So by the time I put everything online, it'll be around 11, which is still pretty early for yours truly for tonight. Tomorrow I get to spend the day with my significant other. And Monday night, I'll be here with Mish. We will cover Raw. Rampage's rating should be out by then, as will Smackdown. And we'll talk a little bit more about Rampage, Smackdown, Raw, and anything else that breaks between now and then. But I hope you enjoyed this. Just having some real convo that I truly believe is needed more, out there. And you don't have to, be old enough or even alive in 9/11, 2001 to understand. And, don't use 9/11 as, the reason that, to be a better person. And then tomorrow it's right back to being a scumbag, when none of us are altar boys. We're not perfect. We do get our moments. But overall, just got to treat people like you want to be treated. So, all right, everybody, have a great night. Have a great rest of the weekend. And I'll see you Monday night after Raw. Good night, everybody.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's alright. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.